Once you've run your tubing, similar to what we've got here, and however you've selected to do it, then at this point, the step is to assemble your drum and your master unit. The drum comes from the factory with a solid lid on it for shipping. I recommend taking a saw of this nature or a coping saw of some type and going around the lid and cutting the lid out. I've already pre-cut this lid. Show you what I'm talking about here. So you have an open top with the ridge still left. This is set back onto the unit and clamped down. Come over to the master unit, use whatever you want to use and cut the tape. And remove your carton. And unpack your check valves and your filters. Cord assembly and a hood that goes over the entire unit when we're completed. You will also find a set of counterweights in here. These are a set of counterweights that hang down inside the drum from this sump switch, which will turn the unit off when the insecticide is run out. To assemble this now, open the timer and you'll find a plate. This plate is used to go on this hand timer, which is used to activate the system when you choose to. On the back of the plate, there will be two inserts taped in place, and these inserts are used to hook the tubing to the main unit. Snug that down and slide on your timer button. Now that we have the hand timer assembled, the next step would be to assemble the check valves. I usually turn the pump up and start with the larger tube first, slide it up through the hole, slide it with the insert in it now, slide it in to the bottom of the nut and then tighten. Turn in a quarter. The small check valve, insert, into the bottom. Finger tight, turn in a quarter. And we'll rotate our pump down, set it so as the tubings match the holes. and tighten your pump down. At this point, we're ready to set the machine on top of the reservoir tank. I usually grab these two so they don't drop around or flop around. Pour them into the tank. Take the counterweights. Lift the front of the unit and you'll find the hole. Slide it up and put the loop on the sump switch, and then let the weights spin or hang to the bottom of the unit. The sump switch weights, as soon as the unit is empty, will shut the entire system down so you won't have any problems about the pump burning up. Because one of the hardest things on a pump is running it without fluid. You're ready to hook up the main line now, going to the barn. Cut tubing where you want it. Slide in your insert. And while you're doing it, this is a good opportunity to put the hood on. The hood has got a buttonhole in it, and right here, and you'll have to cut the buttonhole yourself. Slide the tubing through. Put your insert in and slide into the elbow. Turn in a quarter. On the other side, you need to put in your bleeder valve. This is a small petcock inline drain that allows you to drain the air out of the system so you won't have a problem with the hydraulicing. Now that we have completed that, your unit is ready for charging with insecticide. To charge the system, you need two things. You need a gallon of insecticide and you need a garden hose. Lift the top, slide it back just a short ways, and it'll sit and balance right there. Slide your garden hose in and turn it on. Let the unit be filling up. Before you add any insecticide to it, the unit should reach somewhere in the neighborhood of half full. On your insecticide, while your unit is filling up, also I forgot to mention, you need to make sure that the unit is unplugged when you charge the unit. A lot of times when a unit runs out by itself, it will be halfway in the middle of a cycle when it does run out. And so the sump switch will shut it down, and as soon as the water fills it up, it'll start right back up again. So I recommend unplugging the unit. Take your insecticide, shake it up well. It needs to be mixed very well. Occasionally when it's sitting, it will have a tendency to stratify on you, but it'll only take a few minutes of shaking it to bring it back up. When you take off the outside lid, check and make sure that the seal of the insecticide is still in place. And for this demonstration, I am not going to add the insecticide, but once you get it half full, pour the insecticide into the unit. Pour it in slow, give it an opportunity to mix with the water. And then after you have got the insecticide in, turn your water off, come back and add water to the container 3 or 4 times, shaking it up and then pouring it back into the system. It's very important that you get all the residue out of the can. The last time that you shake it and pour it in, you should have clear water. Allow the system to fill to approximately the point of 6 inches below the lid. Turn the water off. Set your lid back in place. Plug your unit in. You are now ready to activate your system. And this is going to be a new startup, so take your drain valve or your cutoff and open it up all the way. Take your pressure control valve, which is this piece right here on the side, and turn it all the way closed. At this point, reach over, turn your unit on. Okay, it's picked up, and we're waiting now for the fluid to go all the way through the system and come out the bypass. You can see we've got a good strong flow of water and no air. Allow the air to bleed completely out of the lines and then close this valve. As soon as this valve is closed, the nozzles are now working and the insecticide is coming out. You should have 200 pounds of pressure on the gauge, and at this point in time, you go out and check each one of the nozzles that you have installed and every connection that you have made, and make sure there are no leaks. Come back to the main unit. Take this cutoff, open it up, drop your pressure back, where it's operating somewhere right in the neighborhood of about 150 pounds of pressure. $160, somewhere right in that neighborhood there. Now your system is activated and working. Now that we have the system activated and the pressure set, we're ready to set the automatic timer so the system will go off automatically throughout the day as we need it. The timer is made up of 2 rings. This inside ring is the length of time that the motor will run at that period of time during the day when you choose for the system to be activated. This scale on this goes from 1 minute up to 27 minutes. We recommend running at approximately 1 minute at a time. Very seldom have I ever seen where you needed more than a minute to eliminate the flies and the insects in the barn. And for the most of the time, if you set it off 4 or 5 times throughout the day, that should be sufficient to control all the insects that you need to control. The outside, this ring, if you notice, it has arrows on it. Everything should be moved in the direction of the arrows when setting the time. Okay, that's 1 minute. This outside scale is a 24-hour clock. It's got a pointer right here, and that represents the time of the day. If you look at this now, we're just past noon. Select the times of the day that you would like to have the system to go off. This will usually be determined by the number of horses and when the horses will be in the barn, when people will be cleaning stalls and taking care of the daily activity around the barn. I'm going to set this one up 4 times a day. The extra pins are in this slot right here. I'm going to set it up at 8, 11, 2, and 5. And once I've got the pins in for the desired time, rotate this ring on the inside, and this will also move the ring on the outside. As you rotate it and the pin comes towards the time to activate, the tripper will move and the trigger will lock in. Continue to rotate and watch your trigger. You hear it, it locked in right there. Move it a little farther and you can see the trigger rotating towards the top, and it's getting ready to activate. At this point, I let the timer go and operate by itself so I can get an accurate time on how long the machine is actually going to be. I set my watch and I keep up with the time. The unit should run for 1 minute. At the end of 1 minute, and I'm going to activate this so this will turn off quicker than 1 minute. Once you have your time established right, as far as the length of time of the operation of the unit, then set your time of day. For example, it's 3 in the afternoon. You set it directly underneath the 3 in the afternoon. Close your timer. Pull your hood up and cover your machine, and you're in operation.